Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing right now.
Hey guys, this is CMP Live, and this video is for the Locker Gnome YouTube channel. Hey guys, for this real or hoax, we're looking at the idea that a CPU with only 2 cores is just as good as one with 4 cores. To ensure the only variable was just the cores, I used the same CPU and same computer for both parts of the test. I just disabled 2 of the cores on my quad-core CPU for the 2-core part of the test. So here are the results. For this real or hoax, I performed tests on 4 different games: Battlefield Bad Company 2, Assassin's Creed 2, Flight Simulator X, and Ruse. I also performed tests on Sony Vegas, WinRAR, and IZ-ARC. For the Battlefield Bad Company 2 test, I lowered my graphics settings down to the lowest possible setting in the game, and as you can see, there's a pretty significant difference between the average frames of the 2 cores and the 4 cores, but the 4 cores is not exactly doubled of what the 2 cores is. Now this could easily be just the graphic card bottlenecking. In this test, I set my graphics to the highest possible setting. As you can see, there's no real difference between using just 2 cores or 4 cores. This is because my graphic card, which is the ATI 5850, bottlenecked prior to the CPU bottleneck. For the Assassin's Creed 2 test, I did both low settings and high settings. Both settings had the exact same data when testing. As you can see, there's no difference between having 2 cores and 4 cores. Flight Simulator X has been long believed to be a heavily dependent CPU game, but as you can see from the graph, there's no real difference between using just 2 cores or 4 cores. This test was done with fairly high graphics settings. The final game test was done using Ruse. I set the graphics to the lowest possible setting, and as you can see, there is a slight difference between using 2 cores and 4 cores. In this test, I set Ruse to the highest possible graphical settings, and as you can see, 2 cores outperformed 4 cores just slightly. So in this case, 2 cores are better than 4, which is completely opposite of what logic would tell us. For this test, I used Sony Vegas to render a video. As you can see, 4 cores took about 3 minutes and 11 seconds to render, while 2 cores took almost 5 minutes. Essentially, it took 4 cores 36% less time to render than 2 cores. For this test, I used WinRAR to compress a 190 megabyte file. The 4 cores finished 13% faster than the 2 cores when compressing the file. Our final test consisted of using IZ-ARC to compress a 190 megabyte file. As you can see, there's no difference between using 2 cores and 4 cores. After looking at the test results from the games, it's obvious your graphic card will be the weakest link and not your CPU. This is regardless of the amount of cores you have in your CPU. Now this doesn't mean you can go out and buy a 10-year-old CPU and expect to get awesome performance. Far from it. It just means you don't need to go out and spend a couple $100 on the top-of-the-line i7 8-core CPU. Instead, you can go out and buy an i3 or an i5, which is considered a mid-range CPU right now, and you'll do just fine. Some of the applications we tested did seem to improve with more cores. However, the performance was not a 100% increase, which just shows they're not optimized for all 4 cores yet. In short, 4 cores will help your performance with most applications, but don't expect it to scale proportionally with the amount of cores you have. In short, 2 cores ran just as well as 4 cores in most games. Just be sure to pair it up with a pretty decent graphic card. If you do a lot of video rendering or editing, I highly recommend a 4-core CPU, and if budget allows, an 8-core CPU. But for most average users, a 2-core or 4-core mid-range CPU will do you just fine. If you have a suggestion for a future Real or Hoax episode, feel free to send me a message on YouTube. My YouTube name is CMP Live. If you want to watch previous episodes of Real or Hoax, you can go over to youtube.com/CMP Live and look in the playlists. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.